Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Clevatess Season 1, Episode 10. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up where the last episode left off, and Clint is trying to get Luna to open the door to the furnace, but it's not working. Even sits Luna on it. And like Luna's kind of like acting like, I was like, are you about to like poop your diaper? But it seems like he just pissed himself. But it's still kind of funny because if you look at the console, it's covered in piss. But it's like, well, if I can't get in that way, I'll go in from the top. And the furnace is so hot that most beasts would probably be burned up from it. But Clint's like, not me. But even partway through it, he's like, wow, that heat is so intense. It's not regular fire. There's more to this. He's like, if I didn't hide in the shadows of like a brick, like I wouldn't have been able to come down here by myself. But even he was like, the fire isn't normal. So he's like, but I can't directly get him, like investigate it because like, it probably still would kill him. But while that's happening, Neloru and Luna are attacked, and the moment Clint turns and looks, the door is open, and it's like, and we saw a little like bit of a figure, and I was like, is that supposed to be the king? I'm like, I was like, at first I was like, is someone carrying around his head? It's like, oh, the person carrying around his head is him. So you're like, interesting, because Clint killed him a while ago. I mean, we don't know how long it's been in the context of the show, but he's been dead for a while. They even had him positioned and stuff like that. So how are you alive? So either there's definitely more going on that the king has hidden, which this episode touches on too, or maybe you're being manipulated by some other force, because I wonder, does he have some form of immortality? Because I'm also, because it can't be immortality, because if it was, why wouldn't you reattach your head? Why are you going around carrying your head? Unless maybe you have, like, maybe it might be a thing of you can live, but you can't heal from wounds or something like that. It might be one of those things like you are unkillable, but like your body could be sliced into pieces and scattered around so that you're stuck. Like, not unless that's it. But the episode ends, I'm jumping ahead quite a bit, but just to continue that thread, he's trying to throw Luna into the furnace. Now, that immediately makes me go like, okay, so is that how the furnace has stayed alight all these years? Is that actually like, it's not like, oh, it feeds off of the royal blood? Because I'm wondering, like, is the king way older than we think he is? And that basically he's just shifted, like pretending to be a different king each time, and every time he has a successor to the throne. Well, because I'm also wondering, like, you don't think he killed his own son? Because we don't know. That's still been a question mark of Luna's dad, of like whatever happened to him. Like, was he sacrificed for the furnace? And maybe it's just kind of like maybe like the king is willing to throw Luna in here because it's like, beyond this, we won't have to continue this. This will be our last ditch effort. But it's like, not unless you had multiple children, because we don't know if like maybe the king had other princes that he burned, or like I said, is this the king? Is this someone else? It feels like it's probably just the king's decision, but like that might be how they've kept the furnace going on so long. And maybe he's always been around to sacrifice future generations because it's a necessary evil. But there's something here that he's trying to keep going. And I think it has to coincide with why he's been pushing so hard to continue the legend of like sending heroes out to fight the Dark Lords. Because I'm the Beast Lords. Because I'm like, because that was the thing of like, why did you send them? Like, why are you pushing so hard for this? And I even said at the time too, I've said in the previous episode too, why specifically Clevatess? Like, why? I mean, maybe it's just a proximity thing, but like, why Clint and not any of the other three? Like, was that on purpose or not? Not unless that was like a coordinated effort from someone else to take Clint out for whatever reason. Because we learned last episode, there's some other dark beast backing Drel and everything that he's doing. So I don't know if that's all fully connected, even though the person, Drel, and whoever's behind him is trying to find out the truth behind the furnace situation. So it would seem like that wouldn't work in conjunction with whatever the king's doing. It seems like it's working in opposition of what he's doing. So I don't know. Not less the other beast, which most likely at this point seems like to be the turtle, because they're the only one that isn't involved. Because we find out the dragon's involved in this. We'll get to that in a second. But the turtle beast, whatever they are, whoever they are, because like I brought up last episode, I think, or maybe the episode before last, I brought up like I never clicked the parallel with the four beasts, directional beasts that exist in Japanese mythology. So we've got essentially the tiger, Byakko, Suzaku, the bird, Zafir, and the dragon, Siryu, is, talked about and shown in this episode a little bit. But either way, that's the only things I can think of, like, why the king would be in the position he's in right now and doing what he's doing, because it's kind of like a necessary sacrifice for the greater good. But I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, there's some hidden truth about magic and all of this, too, because at the same time this is all going down, Alicia is fighting Drel and obviously doing the best she can, but obviously she can't keep up with him just because of the amount of power he's gathered, because, well, we'll get to it in a second, but he's so much stronger than her. Plus, he's the one that actually trained her father in the first place, but he ultimately ended up surpassing her. But I think she's still young enough in her age, and a lot of her training probably also had to, like, be concluded, like, on her own as well. So there's like a lot of contributing factors in why this fight's not going her way, but it doesn't change the fact that she's still putting up a hell of a fight against him. But nothing she can do to really break through his defense. I brought it up last episode thinking like maybe the princess had like landed that hammer blow on his sword and maybe that would give her the edge, but doesn't seem like that's come up yet. She might have missed in that moment, but like I said, maybe, just maybe she did. We'll find out soon enough. But either way, during the fight, Drel ends up telling her the history between him and Margo. Like, once again, they studied under the same sword. They were like friends, like, if not like brothers. And during a tournament to determine like the champion, Margo ended up surpassing Drel, even though Drel's like the senior and master of the school. In that moment, Margo ended up surpassing him, and he gets bequeathed a regalia, and this one is the one that Drel currently has. It gets, first and foremost, like what kind of weapon it is determined by your first kill. So the king of Hidan is like, make sure you pick a worthy like first kill, because that will determine like the growth, because this thing gets stronger with every like beast you slay. So, and obviously, I mean, it said beast, but I'm curious, like, does that apply to people too? Because Drel, I guess, technically killed Margo with it, I think. So, but maybe it's only beast. It doesn't absorb. But like, this was 25 years ago. So everything he's slayed in that time frame has just made this sword stronger and stronger. In fact, that's also why he's kind of got the borderline immortality he does too. It's because of that blade as well. Margo decided what he wanted his first opponent to be, and basically because he believes in, keeping the legends alive. And even at this point, Drel had his reservations about all this, but it's like he followed his best friend into battle, because like Margo wanted to kill a dragon, which is basically second lieutenant to, or first lieutenant rather, to a right-hand person is what I'm trying to say, to one of the beasts. And it's like, you want to go after them, make that your first kill. Because he also wants to bring a unit with him, because he doesn't want to waste like the first kill on some weak beast. So if I could kill like this dragon, that could be like the turn, that could start his blade off on like the correct path of finalizing it and making it stronger. And so ultimately, they also ended up like running into some group of mages. At that point, magic hadn't reached the same level. Like, they were saying like alchemy was still relatively better than that, but it was believed that like in the past that magic existed and was kind of part of the reasons why people were able to fight back then. But like, I guess maybe that was still like unclear, and maybe that just been like old legends that were so long. Maybe it's kind of implying like magic existed but then was like lost to time and now it's being brought back up again. Or maybe it's just like magic was just allocated to just being a thing of legend, and they believe like, well, given enough time now where we are in society in the world, we're able to make it a reality, when in actuality it always was a reality. We just believed it just to be a thing of myth and legend. Either way, they lost quite a few people during the fight against the dragon. It took Drel sending Margo flying into the sky, crashes the dragon, and they clash and go at it. And Margo was keeping up with it, but it took one misstep, literally tripping over a stone, gave the dragon its opening, and it cut off his leg. He was kind of like the promised hero. He seemed like he was going to be the hero of legend. And Drel believed in him. Screw the legend or whatever, but for him, it's like, I believe in Margo. Like, I see how strong and powerful he is. And I believe in his skills. But in that one moment, that entire future faded away. He, in that instant, throws the sword to Drel, and Drel puts the dragon down. And in that moment, the power swells inside of him. But before he could properly celebrate, he's frozen stiff by one of the beasts showing up, being like, oh, interesting. And then he wakes up under like a footprint in the sand. If you notice too, he's like in a pool of blood. And it's like, I guess like the weapon reconstituted him after he got killed, because there was no other footprints. It seemed like it just specifically like stomped him there and then bounced. But he's like, ever since then, Margo left all of this behind, obviously, because his hero days were over, and he was all busy raising Alicia. But in that time frame, Drel talked about like his doubts and stuff only growing stronger and stronger. He talks about the whispers. So it seems like the Dark Beast got him like Drel that long ago. So it's been whispering in his ears for the past like 20 some years. And I think it's just like, so I think it might be a situation where he doesn't even realize it himself, Because it might not even be a thing that he's intentionally hiding, that he's working with one of the lords, but it might just be like, even he hasn't realized that's what these whispers have been all these years. And it's not till hearing that Alicia is like, okay, so it confirms. And now for her, it's like, it confirms which one. But it's like, yeah, this all happened 25 years ago. No wonder you're kind of a little crazy. Like, this thing's been whispering in your ears. I mean, you've already been feeling doubtful, but then you have to start asking questions like, are all of your doubts seem to be founded, but I'm wondering like how much of that was this thing's influence. Like, it probably just like your doubts were already there long before this thing got to you, but it was still the thing of over the years, it's been like, it's adding fuel to the fire. Those doubts were already naturally growing, but this has like expedited them more and more and more as time is going by. So now it also makes sense about the whole bone dragon thing too. We saw when it used when it was fighting Rod, and now we see it used again, but now it forms the full dragon during the attack against Alicia. I think it's interesting too that Drel at no point in time has recognized Alicia's circumstances being what they are. He notices like, oh, you survived my attack, and he attacks her with that final attack and takes off because he thinks he's like, whether she's dead or not, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, he probably thinks you might not be dead, but you're knocked out of commission. But like, I don't think he recognizes she's in a similar vein as him. Once again, if he is aware of his circumstances, because he just might not be, but he might think some of that might just be the regalia itself and not one of the lords like backing you. But he doesn't seem like he recognizes that like Alicia is dead. She's basically an undead person being reconstituted by another lord's dark blood, So like, I don't think he pieced that together in that moment. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. Next episode will be like should be the penultimate episode of the season. So I'm excited to find out where all this takes us. What's up with the King of Hedon? Like, what are these like buried secrets that Drel was talking about? That obviously, like, it isn't just like the tradition is all based on bullshit, because there's certain hidden truths that the king has hidden away. That the question is, what are they, and what's all this about? I'd also forgot about the intro to the episode where Gart showed up and tried to get like Clevatess out of the ball, but once again, he's not there. Well, not really. And he runs into Rode, who's like, oh my god, you came down with magic, help me. And now it's a thing of Gart's taking the perspective of, well, basically use this human just like Clen uses his human. So luckily for me, the word magic is so rampant that they believe anything I'm doing is magic, because no one's going to believe you're actually a beast that's taking on the form of a human. No one's going to immediately jump to that conclusion. The only ones who know that they can even do that is Alicia. So, But it's like, yeah, following Zathier's orders, it's like, well, investigating all this will help me, so this human will be useful in the long run. So, yeah, but if you break your promise and get in my way, I will kill you. And Rhodes like, well, I gotta like show my loyalty to Eslin, so I need to see this through. I need to, stop Dorel and all that he's doing. So all the storylines are colliding, all meeting up, with the furnace and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out in going into the next episode, as well as eventually leading into the season finale. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.